Hello, everyone. If you're new to this content, welcome. This channel and podcast feed has been a place where we come to entertain and discuss a variety of different topics in entertainment.
However, in the midst of a global pandemic, many of us in this country are now feeling anger and pain due to the tragic events that have happened very recently.
Black Lives Matter. We stand in support of the Black community and against racism and violence that continues to plague our nation.
Now more than ever, we need to come together and support those who need to be heard in the fight against social injustice.
To our listeners, viewers, friends, and those in the Schmodown family that are participating in peaceful protests, we ask only that you try your very best to stay safe.
These are trying times, but we can get through them together.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to, or actually welcome to the first
Not live.
not live episode of Going Rogue, our first taped episode of Going Rogue. For those who are curious that why switched from live to pre-taped, it had a lot to do with scheduling. It had a lot to do with analytics. We looked at our situation, and we felt that moving to
It made more sense.
It made more sense for mainly our schedule.
Yeah.
And when I first started going Rogue, it was just me, and it made sense to be live, to be talking to an audience. But now you join the show. No need to really talk to a live audience, and just there's a whole bunch of stuff that went into just missing the words right now. A lot of different things that went into moving this to a live tape. But same type of format as always. So we would normally talk about the Clone Wars and things like that, and right now I want to be watching, I should say. I am watching. I want to be watching the Disney Gallery on Mandalorian Season 1.
We got time.
It'll
always be there.
But, I have other things I got to worry about. More particularly, the Schmodown Star Wars tournament. Because, So I will catch up on those. I'll give you my thoughts on that when I get to them. But also, and then we also go into Star Wars news. Again, there's not a whole lot of Star Wars news. There's a bunch of rumors floating around in the space of like a rumored live-action Thrawn being out there. I don't like to touch on rumors because I like to, because like what if it's just like it's just smoke.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, then I'm disappointed that like I got excited for a live-action Thrawn. From what I hear, sources are credible on certain stories than others, but I would like to see a live action Thrawn. You're not really familiar with the character.
Thrawn's blue. I know that much. He's a bad guy.
Yeah, I think you would actually like Rebels more than Clone Wars, to be honest, because it's more condensed. I like Rebels more than Clone Wars just because I get attached to the characters so quickly. And then also, Thrawn isn't the best in Rebels, but he's better in the books, which is another piece of news that came up with the Thrawn Ascendancy trilogy of books is getting pushed up, so it's going to come out sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
You really can't speak on this one.
Sorry.
Because of
what a terrible cause.
You don't read the books. You don't listen to the books.
No, I don't read books.
Do you have any curiosity about Thrawn at all? What do you know about Thrawn?
Literally that he's blue and he's a bad guy.
So, see, that's the one thing that I'm on the side of the fence that Thrawn really isn't a bad guy. He just does what he can for the Ascendancy, and that like it just happens to be what's good for the Ascendancy at the it's just Ascendancy that he's from. He's from like the unknown regions of space. He's a Chiss, so he was sent to the Empire to study them, and then he just caught up in the ranks. He rose to a Grand Animal really quickly, and that's even
in the Empire.
In the Empire,
the Empire is bad.
Yes,
so he's a bad guy. If A then B,
but
am I right?
Yeah, but the way I look at it, he keeps doing things that benefits him and benefits the Ascendancy, and the Ascendancy is all about what's best for like to keep them safe. So there's a lot of things that he does that could be seen as it only benefits him, but then it also happens to benefit the Empire at the time. So it's only a matter of time before. But for those who are familiar with Rebels, again, I don't want to spoil the show for you if you ever do end up picking it up, which I think you should because it's fantastic. That where he ends up during the end of that, it's like where do these stories line up? But I just think he's not a bad guy. He's more of an anti-hero. I use that term a lot, but in Rebels, he's viewed as the villain because he has to be. But he's so much more of a deeper character because he's like an analytic kind of person. He thinks ahead. He studies his opponents through their art. You realize you didn't need your glasses anymore.
I don't need them right now.
But yeah, he's a really interesting character. He's in probably top 10 characters I like in Star Wars because he's just so great, and I'm really looking forward to these trilogies because I'm more familiar with the new canon Thrawn. I'm not so familiar with Legends Thrawn.
Sounds interesting, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I feel like if I were to get into a book, I feel like the first book I'd probably get into is Queen's Shadow.
I think that's a fantastic read. I think you would like Queen's Shadow is definitely something you would like. I would say start with Lost Stars because it's the events of the original trilogy seen through another perspective of two young friends who eventually become lovers. And
Spicy.
It's a young reader novel, but it doesn't read like one.
It's a young reader novel.
Young reader novel, but it absolutely doesn't read like a young reader novel. But because there are some spicy scenes.
Oh,
some
really?
Steamy scenes. I'm like, ooh.
Wow.
Yeah. Also in Queen's Shadow, there are a couple steamy scenes. I'm like, ooh.
Oh my.
Oh my.
Does it involve sand talk?
No. No, but
that's nice, you know.
Yeah.
It's a nice warm up is talking about your sand preference.
But on the topic of Queen's Shadow, Queen's Pearl, was it? Yeah.
Queen's Pearl?
Queen's Pearl. So it's a prequel to Queen's Shadow, and it's all about Padme's like election into the Queen of Naboo.
Oh.
So I loved Queen's Shadow, and it turned a huge, because I don't know, what are your thoughts on Padme right now? Because the only Padme you're familiar with is the movies. So yeah. I would be curious to see you pick up Queen's Shadow and see what your perspective is.
I'd like to, because if you just watch Padme in like the prequels and the Clone Wars movie, more so the prequels than the Clone Wars movie. Let's just take the Clone Wars movie out for a second. But if you just look at Padme in 1, 2, and 3, she's just kind of like she just kind of seems like a lot of the time she's more of a
talk first, actions later.
No.
Because that was my view on the character.
I feel like she just kind of, I don't know. Like she doesn't, like I don't want to say that she's a damsel in distress because she's not.
She's not, no.
I mean, did you see her fight her way out of that Geonosis arena? That's not a damsel in distress.
And she does do a lot in Phantom Menace. She takes charge of the situation in Phantom Menace.
It just seems like, well, yeah, for a 14-year-old. But like in Revenge of the Sith, it's just, she seems kind of like
she's just
defeated.
Sidelined. Like, what can you do? She's pregnant. And things like that.
What do you do? It's like, oh, so this is how democracy. Was that democracy or liberty?
Liberty dies.
Liberty dies with thunders and blood.
Yeah.
It's like, get out there, girl, do something.
And
make yourself known.
And I will say this is a lesser known part of the character, because there's a lot of scenes cut from Revenge of the Sith, and there's a scene when she meets with Bail Organa, with Mon Mothma, and a whole bunch of people, and they're basically starting the alliance within the Republic, and they're thinking of leaving. So it's like the seeds of the rebellion being put, and that scene gets cut, and it gets put. It's left on the cutting room floor, but it's a deleted scene, and it's like I would really like to see that in the movie, because then she's actually doing something. She's actively trying to, bring a diplomatic solution to the Clone Wars.
I'd like to see Padme in a different light, where she's more like, less like, you're breaking my heart, less like that, and more like, hey, I'm a senator, a former queen, and I'm calling the shots. And
that's what Queen's Shadow is almost all about. And it because for me, Padme was always one when it's like she's saying, hey, let's all just let's all talk this out in the middle of the gunfight. Like, you know what I mean? Like she's always pushing to talk when like the time to talk is almost like past.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, why? It's like I just never really vibed with the character, and then this book completely flipped my perspective on the character. So I'll be interested to see what
would probably be my first choice if I was going to read a book. It would probably be my first choice.
So yeah, that's really, there's not a whole lot of news as usual, unless like it's like big casting news
or movie
news,
which isn't going to happen for a while.
And I'm just waiting for that announcement. Oh, we're gonna canceling Celebration. We're postponing Celebration because that's coming. It's
coming
it's coming. Rather than later.
I've already mentally prepared myself because it just doesn't seem like that's going to happen at this point. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on right now.
Yeah.
And I don't see it happening. Even a couple months ago, it's like,
maybe.
Probably not. It might
but
not.
Now,
but now I'm like,
in the midst of everything that's
happening.
It's
going to happen.
Yeah.
So hopefully, I don't know. I hope it's not just like, okay, see you in a year, you know, see you fall of next year.
Yeah.
I hope it's just kind of pushed back. I know there's a lot of logistics to it, but I don't know. It's a really fun atmosphere to be in. I also don't want to be in that kind of atmosphere.
Yeah.
When there is still a pandemic going on.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to socially distance in that, you know, that, what is it called? The conference hall, whatever it's called.
Oh, like the convention center.
The convention hall. How are you going to socially distance?
I don't see how you do that. And especially now, the way things have been going for the past couple of weeks, second wave is most definitely coming with.
I feel like it only makes sense.
Yeah.
So. You know, unless I cosplayed as like Borgullet and had like 6 feet legs, tentacles all around myself. Like
distance, social distance.
Don't touch me. I'm Borgullet.
You know, it's the restrictions are easing up, but who knows? But I'm fully preparing myself. Saying, yep, celebration's canceled.
Same.
But so I think
speaking of Borgullet.
Speaking of Borgullet, the main topic of tonight is Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Because I think in the next coming, like maybe the next shows or whatnot, if we don't have like a big story to talk about with like any news release, we're gonna maybe revisit these movies. And I think right now it's a good time to revisit Rogue One, a Star Wars story.
Yeah.
You actually said this to me this past week because obviously we were watching it because of the tournament for Schmodown. But you actually said you have a different, a new perspective, a new respect for this movie.
I do.
And every time I watch this movie, I was like, I appreciate the subtleties that it has within it more and more.
Yeah.
So I want to hear your thoughts, very just your overall new view that you have on this movie. Because you went into this movie the first time you watched it, and we went to theaters. You're like, that was kind of boring. Yeah, it was boring.
Like the first time we saw it in theaters, I walked out and I'm like, that movie was boring as hell. It just, I don't know. It just felt very
slow.
It felt slow.
You couldn't get attached to the characters. The characters didn't interest you.
I mean, when you're watching Star Wars and it's like decades and decades and decades worth of the same characters that you know and love, and then you get thrown into this movie and it's like, who are these people? Why do I care about them? Yeah. You know, obviously they did important stuff because, you know, the Death Star and stuff. Yeah. But I just remember watching it the first time and I was like, that is my least favorite Star Wars movie. And that was probably before I watched the Clone Wars. But I was like, yeah, that's probably one of my least favorite Star Wars movies.
Even compared to Attack of the Clones? Because I don't think Attack of the Clones was like fresh in your mind at the time.
It probably wasn't.
Yeah.
I just remember at the time being like, wow, that's one of my least favorite.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I just found it very boring. And then I didn't watch it for a while. You know, I watched it a couple times, you know, for the other Star Wars matches. But watching it very recently, preparing for this upcoming match, I feel like I was watching it differently. I feel like I was watching it more intently. More intently,
yeah.
And
fresher eyes and
yeah.
I think going into this movie, you went into over the second time you went into it a different fan. Because the first time you were very, very casual. I know people hate to use the word casual fan, but you were very, very new to the property.
Yeah.
Now you have a different appreciation. I would argue that you have a different appreciation for the entire property now.
I do.
So I think this plays into.
I definitely do. Yeah. But now I see Rogue One, I'm like, yeah, this movie's all right. It's pretty cool. I have a new respect for it. I think, I mean, it goes without saying that my favorite character is Jyn. Like, duh. I just love how scrappy she is because she's been through some stuff. Like, she pretty much, I don't know, she was mad at her dad because she thought that he was, you know.
Just abandoned her. And
he just abandoned her and he's working for the bad guys and all that kind of stuff. And poor girl watched her mom die right in front of her.
And she even says that, you know, I like to think he's dead and makes it easier.
Exactly. Yeah. And then Saw Gerrera finds her. And then, you know, when he leaves her, he left her with a loaded gun and a knife or whatever. Yeah. And then he left her. So she like
Oh yeah.
Gets abandoned by these two really important people in her life. Watches her mom die. And then she like gets into, she gets into some legal trouble and she gets arrested for some stuff. So she's been through some, rough situations in her life. So she's come out,
just hardened.
Hardened, that's a good word. And I think I really like her scrappiness and I like the fire that's in her. Mm-hmm. Apart from her, mm-hmm. K2. Yeah. He's so sassy. And I love it.
Yeah.
Just the slap to Cassian was so good.
Fresh one if you mouth off again. Which was an improv by Alan Tudyk. It's always funny to look at that. Just to go back on at Jin for a little bit more, like God, I had a thought in my head and it just fell out.
Something about Jin.
Something about Jin. Well, yeah. So, like, what were your thoughts on her viewing, like, when she gets that hologram message from her father? It was meant for Saw, but she watches her father talking about her and like how he really can't think of her because it's too hard to think of her.
Yeah.
And he only wants to think of her when he's strongest.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on that? Like,
I felt super bad for her in that scene. I felt really, really bad for her in that scene mm-hmm. because, like I said, I don't remember exactly how many years it's been since she's seen her dad, but it's up there. It's like 15 years. Yeah. So it's been a minute. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden you just get bombarded with this gigantic revelation.
Yeah.
And it's like, actually, everything I do, I do it for you.
Copyright strike.
But it's just like this huge moment.
Yeah.
These ton of bricks just gets dropped on her. And then if it were me, like watching that scene, it's kind of like, what if that were me and that was my dad, Mm-hmm. And I had those feelings about him. And then seeing that message, I would be wanting to sit there and just hit replay mm-hmm. and absorb every word. Mm-hmm. But she hears it and like almost before it's even done, stuff starts crumbling around her and the message gets destroyed. And it's just, I feel so bad for her in that moment.
Yeah, it's like you just realize that your father is helping the cause. And
she doesn't know that she's going to see him again. Mm-hmm. That might be in her mind in that moment. That's the last time I get to see him. Mm-hmm. And it's just heartbreaking after so many years of thinking about him. It's easier to think he's dead. Mm-hmm. For so many years of feeling that way about him, in this moment, literally everything crushes down around her. Yeah. So it's a hard scene for her. Mm-hmm. And I think it really chips away some of her armor, mm-hmm. If you will.
Yeah, I think revisiting this movie like that, I think you gave me a whole new perspective on that scene because it was like for the longest time I was like watching Jin. It's like, oh, now all of a sudden you're with the cause and want that. But I think looking at it through that eyes, it's like, wow, okay, yeah, that I totally connect to the character now. Why she would suddenly like we have to destroy this thing. We can't. Like seconds before, she's like, Saul asked her, you can stand to see the Imperial flag rain across the galaxy. Yeah. She's like, if you don't look up, yeah, it's not a problem if you don't look up. Then seconds later, she gets this message from dad. Like, all right, I'm with it. So I think that it really speaks volumes as to how quickly she can change her mind and like want to fight so hard because for the longest time she thought her father was just doing evil for the galaxy.
And as a young girl, you hear your dad telling you, like, calling you by that childhood name. Mm-hmm. Just hearing that would be enough to make your cold, dead heart kind of warm up a little bit.
Sort of like the Grinch.
Yeah, it just starts growing little by little. And then to hear him say, literally, everything I've done to protect you. Yeah. That's not the exact quote, but that's the sentiment. Mm-hmm. And then, like, also, by the way, if you don't believe me, the Death Star, here's how you blow it up. So make sure you tell somebody about this.
What are your thoughts on that? Because like I know like a running joke for this in Star Wars for the longest time was like, how could the Empire overlook something so like gigantic that immediately it destroys your entire thing? Like you have this most powerful thing in the universe right now, and just shooting something down a hole blows it up instantly. And like, what are your thoughts on them sort of retconning that? Like, oh, it was set there the entire time because the chief engineer basically rigged it that way just so the rebels would have a chance. Like, I have my own thoughts on that.
Overlooking it.
Yeah, it's because like the running joke is like, oh, they're able to build this planet-killing weapon, but they can't. They overlook this little thermal exhaust port that you shoot something down to it and it makes everything blow up. And
I mean, it is kind of like, wow, that easy, you know, and it happens more than once.
Yeah,
you know.
Yes. Well, Starkiller Base.
Kind of.
I think Starkiller Base is a little bit more.
It's a little bit more involved.
There's a reason for that thing to be there.
Yeah.
There wasn't not a whole lot of reason for that thermal exhaust port to be there.
But then again,
for the most part,
if you think about it, I don't know. Maybe I'm just trying to rationalize here, and it is really stupid, and I'm just trying to defend it. I don't know. But like, if he's your chief engineer, you hire people for a reason. You know, Tarkin doesn't know
baloney
about
family friendly.
Tarkin doesn't know anything about engineering, right? That's why he hired Galen. Otherwise, he probably would have done it himself. So when you hire somebody to do something, it's because they're the subject matter expert and not you. So if I'm Tarkin and I'm like, well, I don't know how to build this thing, Galen, do it. Take control and you do it. If I'm like, hey, Galen, status report, and he's like, it's coming great. It's coming along real good. I'm gonna be like, cool, got it. And I'm not gonna go in there and inspect it. And even if I here's a good analogy. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. It might not make sense. We'll see how far I get into it. I don't know how to change the oil in my car. Right? I take my car I should, but I don't. And I'm probably not going to learn how to.
I can show you how to change your oil. It's involved, but it's not hard.
Yeah. We'll see.
I can also change a tire. Can you change a tire?
No.
I gotta show you.
You know how I change a tire? With AAA. So I don't know how to change my oil. Whatever. I'm not ashamed. Whatever. Don't at me. So I will take my car to a car place to change my oil. And when I get there and they're like, hey, your Johnson rod's leaking. And I'm like, all right. I believe him because they're the subject matter expert.
That's actually a very good analogy.
I'm not going to be like, show me that Johnson rod. Show me where it's leaking. I'm going to be like, you know what you're talking about. And I trust that you're doing the right thing. And I trust that you're not trying to jerk me around, even though that has happened. And I think it might have been a weird, you know, because you're a girl, you don't know cars kind of thing. And they weren't wrong. That's beside the point. They really squeeze
Different discussion for another
They
time.
really squeeze like $400 or $500 out of me for nothing. Whatever. So if I'm Tarkin and I'm hiring Galen or so, I'm not going to be like, show me that. Because even if he showed me that, I'm not going to know what he's talking about. So, I mean, I don't really think it's that outlandish that they overlooked it, especially if Galen's core team is in. Were they in on it?
No.
Oh.
So I already hear the nerds sort of yelling at you right now because he's technically not the chief engineer. I misspoke on this. He's not the chief engineer of the entire station. He engineered the super laser.
Well, is the super laser where that oscillator is?
It's linked to the main reactor. So like this a lot of what happens with him setting up the trap, so to speak, for the Death Star's weakness happens in this prequel book called Catalyst. So and there's this back and forth between him and Krennic. It's like, hey, we need this because like this can't operate because of this, and like there's this huge back and forth of like, well then do this. Like, well, I need this exhaust port to lead directly to the main reactor because certain things will happen. We need some energy to come. I'm paraphrasing obviously, and then Krennic obviously overlooking is like, yeah, okay, whatever, go make it happen.
My point exactly.
Yeah,
he doesn't know.
Yeah.
And if it's like, hey, I need this exhaust port because, you know, the thermal oscillator gets hot and I need it to release
That's basically
steam.
what his argument is. Like, we need, like, it needs to be, you know.
Krennic's going to be like, I don't care. Just do it. Otherwise, Tarkin and Palpatine are going to kill me. So, you know, he's probably just like, yeah, just get it done. Jesus Christmas. Get your exhaust port. I don't care. So, I don't know. I think, you know, it's very convenient that it was that easy. But I also, in the context of a space opera where people have laser swords and Chewbacca's, you know, I don't really think it's that. You don't really have to stretch your brain that much to be like, yeah, people that aren't engineers would probably be like, okay, yeah, just build it, nerd. I don't know what you're doing. Just build it. Show me the blueprints later. As long as it's functional, it's fine by me. You know, I need to turn my project into the boss. So I don't really.
I
think it's that
I actually
silly.
I do actually like that they retconned this, because it's like I was one of those people who's like, why, like, how can they easily overlook, because before this even happened, Galen was never a part of the story, so to speak, in the original trilogy, because obviously there's a newer story after the fact. So it's like, how can they overlook something like that? That's so, it's like, I know it's only 2 meters wide and it's almost impossible for somebody to shoot something down there, but still, it's like you can't, fix that. But then to hear that it was built that way the entire time because a guy that's heavily involved in the project wants to exact his revenge on the Empire and help the rebellion defeat this, because he knows how terrible this thing is that he helped build. Because backstory again, for my canon junkies, Galen's original research was for clean energy, basically like energy to provide for the galaxy, and he was used by Krennic, because Krennic kept telling him, yeah, we're using your stuff for good. We want to give energy to the universe and to the galaxy. But they weaponized his thing. But they need him, and by the time he zooms off to Lamau, he escaped Lamu. Yeah, sorry. But
Lamau.
I don't know why I said Lamau. But by the time we see him in Rogue One, he had escaped the Empire because he found out what the Empire was doing with his research, and they couldn't finish it without him at that point. So that's why the beginning of the movie is like, hey, you're a hard person to find. We need you to come back to the project because we can't finish it without you.
That's what I'm saying. If they can't finish it without him, he must be pretty instrumental. And so if he says, I need this, they're going to say, yeah, you got it. You want a 2 meter wide thermal exhaust port? You got it, Galen, baby boy.
Yeah, so I was one to because I know a lot of people were angry, like, why? Oh my god, it was there the whole time, because it's like I actually really like the fact that it's an inside job basically.
Yeah, and
it's just I like that. So, was there any other things that struck you the second time? Because there are a lot of things that I can go on and on about this movie, because there's politics involved. It's themes of sacrifice and doing what's right when everybody else tells you not to do what's right.
Yeah.
And things like that. Was it things like that you can think about or touch on?
I don't know. Well, we were just watching it, and one scene that kind of struck a chord at this point in time was a scene after everything went down on Edu, and spoilers, Galen died.
Yeah,
and everybody was going back onto the ship. All of Cassian and K2 and Jin and Chirrut and all them were back on their ship, and they were leaving. And Jin was pissed, and she was like, "You were gonna kill my dad. Why didn't you tell me? You lied to me." And he's like, "I had every chance to pull that trigger, but I didn't." and so she's all I basically I told you, and we need to do this, we need to do that, we need to fight, and blah blah blah. And Cassian was just kind of I've been in this fight basically my whole life. It must be real nice just pick and choose when you're fighting for the right cause. Yeah, which I think is a particularly poignant point now in our current state of affairs. Not to get into that too much, but I just thought it was, I thought it was worth noting that he's you don't, I don't have the luxury of picking and choosing when I fight because I'm always fighting.
Yeah, and it's like now suddenly things are real for you when you lose your dad. It's it's suddenly things are more important to you now because now you have a fight or a horse in the race basically. Yeah. So that's something that really can speak to today's and that's the thing about Star Wars. A lot of times people are like, oh, I don't want to talk politics with Star Wars. Star Wars is always reflecting real life.
There's a lot of politics in Star Wars.
There's so much politics, and one of the scenes that I always look back on rewatching this is a scene that I love and a scene that I absolutely hate. It's when the Alliance Council is meeting and they're debating on whether or not to go for the Death Star plans.
Yeah, believe Jin.
Should we believe this criminal? It's why should we believe her? There's nothing to prove that she's right.
Yeah, and she's a criminal, and her dad's an Imperial engineer.
Science officer, and everybody. It's just this entire scene to me represents that theme of when people are telling you this isn't the right move right now. Yeah. But that this has to happen, otherwise we keep suffering.
We have no other out. No other way to do this. This is the way we do it.
And looking at this scene in the context of not our world, but Star Wars universe. This is the same type of stuff that doomed the Republic. In the long run, it's a room full of bureaucrats yelling at each other. Oh, I think this is what we need to do. No, you're not right. I'm right. And like they want to make positive change for the galaxy, take the Empire down, but they're still falling back on these old things they can't get over.
Yeah.
And like there's this person in the room saying like, this is what needs to happen. You guys can do whatever you want. You can surrender. You can talk about this all day, but this is what needs to happen. She's standing up for what she believes needs to happen, because if this doesn't happen, you're dooming the rest of us to an eternity of submission.
Yeah.
And just a lot of people are in that room. It's like scared. It's like, well, if they have this power to destroy planets, well, like,
what are we gonna do?
What are we gonna do? We can't fight that. It's like
well, sitting around this room arguing about it isn't
exactly.
gonna do much. We got to
like
do something.
Yeah, you got to take a chance on what is right. And if you don't take that chance, why are we in this room? And another line that I absolutely, I don't hate, but it's like, I never really got this line, is from Tyra Pamlo. She said, if it's war you want, you can fight alone. And every time that line comes up, it's like, so we're just building all these armors up to say hi to the Emperor and to say, hey, we want to talk. It's like, no, you're building the force to fight the Empire.
Yeah.
So like you have spies, saboteurs, assassins, you have starfighters, you have bombers, you have like assault ships, you have all these armaments, and you don't want to fight. It's like you're clearly gearing up for a fight. So I never got that line. I mean, somebody in the comments might yell at me, and it's like, oh, whatever. But like, I just never got that. But like, yeah, that scene is like, I love the scene, but the scene infuriates me sometimes. It's like, oh my god,
stop talking, do something,
do something about it, because it's like you have proof that the Empire is doing heinous things.
That's what I'm saying. It sucks that Jin has nothing but her word.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like it's I don't know. I feel like it's just so significant and relevant that it's like, I am telling you firsthand what I've experienced,
what she witnessed,
what I've witnessed, and you're not believing me because of my past kind of thing, you know. And it's just like, she's over here spitting truth, and everyone's like, well, I'd rather argue some more.
Yeah, and it's like, again, Star Wars reflecting the world. It's like, it's this moment in time where like you would hope that your leaders would step up and help you in the fight and do the right thing, but in this situation, the leaders are failing you right now, and you like, all right, well, we'll just take matters into our own hands. So,
and when you don't have any other choice,
when you don't have any choice, you have to take matters into your hands, and that's what the Rogue One crew does.
They steal shit from their own people, and then they just handle it.
And that's something that I really enjoyed about this film, is that, and I know some people like Goddard has a problem with it being like a battle at the end of the film. He really wanted this to be this like tiny little thing, and I do believe that like these standalone stories, especially with this News of High Republic coming out, I want these smaller stories to be that smaller, condensed stories.
How is it not going to be a fight at the end?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Because the whole idea of Rogue One came from one line of the original trilogy from A New Hope. It's like rebel forces get their first victory by striking from a secret base and have stolen the plans to the ultimate weapon, the Death Star. It's like that hints at a huge battle.
How are you going to steal Death Star plans? Like, just yoink. Like, you're going to have to.
I think people might argue it's like, oh, it should be like a covert mission. They sneak in, they sneak out, and it's like, that base is really secure. And if there's any hints of the Death Star plans being yoinked out, it's like, oh, and they do. They lock the base down, they shut the shield gate, and it's like, oh. Guess we're trapped here. Well,
and like you were saying, there's it's fortified heavily. There's about 800 gazillion stormtroopers everywhere, and even if you just think about the one scene where they actually get the like little hard drive,
like I always love that. It actually looks like a hard drive. It's like we couldn't.
And I also love how Jin has a hard drive clip on her belt, like specifically for a hard drive.
That's handy.
Perfect. I'll put that right there. But like, there's no way that you could just covertly solid snake your way into this place when there's probably that control panel that K2 is standing at and telling them where it was. Someone's gonna be there. A stormtrooper's gonna be there. And I can only imagine that they do like status checks. And even if you went in there and you just conked him out, you know, They're probably going to check on him,
Mm-hmm.
notice he's not on his post, send somebody in. There's no way that you can get in there and get to that hard drive and use your, like, you know, grabby hand thing to find it. There's no way that you're going to do that without alerting somebody. So it was going to be a fight, I think, no matter what.
What are your thoughts on because I think for me, Space Battles, it goes Endor, Battle of Scarif. Like, what were your thoughts on Battle of Scarif? Because I remember watching that first time and going, this is the movie I wanted.
I thought it was great.
Yeah.
And I also do have I really, really enjoyed Cheer It. I thought he was a fantastic. I did my boy Cheer It dirty by saying I didn't even mention him when I was saying my favorite characters. It's probably Jin, K2, and Cheer It. Not necessarily in that order, but Cheer It's a boss.
Oh yeah.
And just, you know, seeing him and Baze, I love him, his and Baze's relationship.
Yeah, their dynamic is really good.
Yeah. So I don't know, because there was a ground battle, there was a space battle, it had it all, baby. So I thought it was a great battle.
Yeah, but because I think that the whole battle represents again people standing up for what is right, because again the council, Raditz is like, I say we fight, we need to fight.
Yeah.
He ends up coming together. It's like, you know what? To hell what the council says. I'm fighting for what I believe in, and he comes in and he basically rescues the crew, and because of him acting, they're able to get the Death Star plans out. And I remember watching the movie and I'm like, God, this is because like I had problems with the first two acts. It was like you said, it was a little boring, couldn't get attached to the characters. But once that third act hit, I was like, yep, I'm totally into this movie now. I really like this end battle. I remember watching them in the theater, and like when the squadron leaders reported, and it's like, oh, blue leader standing by, and then gold leader and red leader reported. And I'm like, oh, it's Scarven Traits. It's Sean. You're like, who are you talking about?
Nerd.
I'm like, you don't recognize him from A New Hope?
Sure don't.
So there's so like I know the term fan service gets thrown a lot around, but I think this is a case where the fan service actually makes complete sense. It's like, we're gonna grab everybody we have and throw them at the Empire because this is a desperate move. And like, of course, you'd have the people that take part in the Battle of Yavin take part in the Battle of Scarif, because like it basically happens. Those two battles happen within the same, like, I don't know what the timeline is for A New Hope, but like in the same like week or so, those two battles happen. Yeah. Like within, because Rogue One stops, A New Hope begins. It's like literally the next scene is A New Hope. But what would you say your favorite like sequence or scene is from this movie? Because the
obvious answer is the Darth Vader scene at the end, where he just goes bananas on all those guys with their stupid helmets. I hate their helmets. They look so dumb. The only thing that looks dumber than those guys and their helmets is Scout Troopers on Endor. Am I right, ladies?
Oh,
they're so stupid
really like
and dumpy
Scout
looking.
Troopers.
They're dumb. They look dumpy really like and they look stupid.
You just don't like the packs on the side of their
and their helmets. They look so stupid.
I really like their helmets. I like the Scout Trooper helmets better than the actual Stormtrooper helmets. I would argue. That's my opinion.
Wow. Back to Rogue One. Back to Rogue One. Those guys in their stupid biker helmets, like, they just look so stupid. Anyway, if I had to say my favorite sequence, that's an obvious. Everybody, I think, a lot of people, I think, would be like, wow, Darth Vader going ham on those guys. Yeah. If I didn't have that, oh boy,
I would say Cheer It Imwe going ham on the Stormtroopers. That was pretty.
Yeah, that was really pretty cool. What are these when he like hit his foot?
Is your foot all right?
Is your foot all right?
And he flips the. Donnie Yen's so cool.
He was so perfect for that role.
And I love that they made Cheer It blind.
Yeah,
I love the fact that he's blind, because like if he's not blind, then it's like, oh, is this guy force sensitive or is he not? Oh my god, why didn't he become a Jedi? Making him blind is like, this guy's totally force sensitive. Yeah. Why isn't he a Jedi? And like one thing that I did notice, because another going canon backstory, Cassian says he's been in the fight since he was 6 years old, which means he was around during the Clone Wars. And from what I understand, I haven't read the Cassian comic book or anything, but we'll probably see this in the Cassian series, is that he was a separatist. And his families were separatists. And separatists viewed Jedi as the bad guys. So when you notice that when he's approaching Chirrut and he asks Baze, is he Jedi? He has his blaster drawn. He's like, is he Jedi? So he's saying Jedi are bad. So I think that's a subtle thing that I just picked up on in the past couple of viewings. Of like, whoa, he has his blaster drawn. I guess he just doesn't trust them because he thinks he's always viewed Jedi as this bad entity because he grew up thinking Jedi are bad. So I thought that was really interesting to see.
But I like that scene with Chirrut just going wild on all those stormtroopers. That was pretty cool.
That was really cool.
Can we say what our least favorite part is?
Sure.
Bor Gullet.
Yeah, I think that. Like, I say it all the time. You take that scene out of the movie, it changes nothing.
Well,
it changes absolutely nothing.
Pointless because they're like, oh, Bor Gullet,
the
unfortunate whatever side effect is that one tends to lose one's mind.
And he sits there
for then he's like in the jail cell, and then you see like Chirrut, Baze, and Cassian in the cell next to him, and they're like, hey, bro, you that pilot? And he's like,
I'm the
what?
Pilot. What?
I'm the pilot? Oh, Galen Erso. Yeah, I'm Bodhi Rook, and I did this thing, and I was from the Imperial. I'm a cargo pilot, and I did the thing. Yeah, that was me. Like, that's how they snapped him right out of it. Like, wow, that's losing one's mind.
Yeah.
It's like, you say one thing, and you snap him out of it.
The one thing I really don't understand is like, he can feel your thoughts. So Bor Gullet will know the truth. Does Saw Gerrera speak to Bor Gullet? And it's like, hey, bro, what do you say? Well, is he telling the truth? Like, I never got that.
How do you get it from?
Yeah, how do you get it from Bor Gullet? That might be an extended canon thing. I don't remember anything like that in the novelization. He's
also gross.
Yeah.
He's also really gross.
I never understood the, that whole scene, and it's like, can you imagine how much money they spent on that scene? It's like that's got to be close to like triple digits.
Ridiculous.
That has to be like a couple $100,000 for that entire. I know it's a very short-lived scene, but it's like
he was a big gross monster.
Yeah,
so
like,
yeah. And then he had to like wrap his tentacles around him.
Yeah,
Whoa.
yeah.
But yeah, pretty dumb that he's just like, Galen? Yeah, okay, yeah, thanks. It's all coming back.
Yeah. Another thing that I look back on this movie, I remember my initial like reaction, and then I went to go see it like 2 or 3 more times. I'm like, I really don't dig the music at all. It's like it didn't really resonate with me. But then the more I watch this, the more I appreciate it. I have a deeper appreciation for the music now. Like there are some beats that like really get me.
Honestly, I don't remember any of the music. The only music I can hear in my head right now is the music from the Clone Wars movie. I could not tell you a single beat from Rogue One. It's
effective. I mean, there's hints of John Williams in there. There's some newer because Michael Giacchino did the score, and granted, he had to do all this in 4 months. And usually, when composers would get a more extended amount of time than 4 months, so like or less. But I'm enjoying the music now. Anything else that you because I don't think we're gonna wrap it up here because
no, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Any like honorable mention characters? I feel like
I think so. Yeah.
I think we got everyone. I think K2's funny. He's sassy.
Whose death hit you the strongest?
Who's death?
Yeah. Out of the main crew, so of Cassian, Jin.
Well, that changes
K2,
my answer.
Yeah, Cassian, Jin, K2, Chirrut, Baze, and Bodhi.
Because I was gonna say Galen.
Mm-hmm. Out of I mean, because Galen is meant to hit you hard, but like out of the Rogue One crew, like who like when that happened, I'm like, oh.
Honestly, I don't feel like Jin and Cassian's hit me hard because like you first of all, well, you knew everybody was gonna die.
Yeah.
But like you literally watched the explosion approach, so it kind of takes away from the like factor. I thought it was K2 was sad, but then again, he's a droid.
I remember you rewatching this, and then like you forget that everybody was gonna die. I mean, you knew in the back of your head that everybody's gonna die, but I remember when Bodhi dies, and they throw the grenade in, you're like, oh, you actually gasp when that happened. Yeah,
it was kind of sad. I feel like Bodhi, Chirrut, and Baze were sad because Bodhi just, he was in that ship, right? And they threw the grenade in the ship.
Yeah,
rough. And then like Chirrut, he just like, what would the Force do? And he just like, he like evaded all these crazy blaster fires.
The Force wills it. He truly believed if the Force wills that if the Force wills I die on my way to here, so be it. But if the Force wills me to get to where I'm going and help everybody,
Yeah.
That was his
I
belief.
feel like it would probably be between Chirrut and Baze together because just seeing Baze, wasn't he like holding Chirrut when he was like, look to the Force?
Yeah, and he reaffirms his belief in the Force.
And then Baze, who the whole time has kind of been poking fun at this, crazy dreamer over here.
Yeah.
And then he's like chanting his little mantra before he dies. And then, you see him just give that last little look before he gets like blown away.
Yeah.
I think it would probably be between Chirrut and Baze.
I would say Baze, just because of the fact that he's been this lost soul for the long, because he used to be the most dedicated, like as Chirrut said, he used to be the most dedicated guardian of everybody. And then somehow I think maybe through whatever the Empire did to their homeworld, he just lost faith.
Yeah.
And then it took the death of his comrade and his friend to bring him back to his beliefs. And it's like, all right. So I think Baze's death probably hit me the hardest. But other than that, like ancillary characters, for some reason, Blue Leader, Anton Merrick, for some reason his death resonates with me because I'm an X-Wing pilot guy. But I was like, oh man, the general, damn, damn, that's how he goes out, damn. I don't know why.
Damn, hot damn.
But with that, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up the show. Thank you for joining us on this pre-taped episode, our first pre-taped episode of Going Rogue. Nicki Dimalanta, where can they find you online?
Twitter. I say things on twitter.com @Dimmy, DIMMMYYY.
As for me, you can follow me on Twitter and Twitch. No, I'm not streaming as much anymore, but I will be whenever I can. We'll see. But at Drew Dimalanta, DIMALANTA. If you're listening to us on audio, go to wherever you find that someone's podcast feed. We're on the Beyond the Schmodown podcast feed. Rate, subscribe, do everything you can because it helps us tremendously. Please like, comment, and share this video and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you feel the need to and help out this channel and support the channel by joining the Patreon, patreon.com/Andrew and Nikki. We're about to do a play along to the Iron Man match between Sam Whitmore and Ken Napzok. Star Wars. So you get to do some redemption for Star Wars questions.
And I'm gonna wreck it.
I just recorded my first short film video journal. So that's going to be up on the Patreon very soon. So people $5 Captain's tier and up get access to that. Whole lot of stuff. Thank you to our patrons as always, especially our squadron commander, Tamor Butter. So with that, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Going Rogue, and we'll see you next time. May the Force be with you, always.